My name is Schmid. Well, I'm the founder of Smiling Gecko Switzerland and the co-founder of Smiling Gecko Cambodia. So as a co-founder or as a founder, I have a very high responsibility to bring Smiling Gecko to a sustainability, to help that the philosophy of Smiling Gecko, who is in first line, actually education. Education starts with a child and going up to apprenticeships, to adults, give a guarantee that after they have joined us for a certain time in their life, that they can actually manage their own life, they have an income, and they can build what we hope a different level of family. Well, when you start a project like this, me actually had very little experience because I never did it before. I'm an artist, and suddenly I've been confronted with buying land, building up agriculture, building up a school. So your job is immense because on one hand you can only learn by doing, on the other hand you don't really have the qualification and the knowledge, so you have to see where do you get the knowledge. So you're depending on people, asking questions, get all these inputs from all these people, and then it's like a puzzle. You have a kind of a big frame, and now you have all these puzzles, and you try to put these puzzles together. And the big challenge is that you start to realize very quickly you cannot do one thing. The puzzles, when you do a puzzle, you start on this corner, on this corner, and this corner to work yourself to the inside and to the inside out. So the job is immense, and what's on top of the job, who is even more kind of every day gives you an internal challenge, is your responsibility, because you are starting to interfere in people's life. You start to change people's life in our context, that we think if they do this, if they can get this, they will have a better life. And the challenge is enormous. I cannot even describe the challenge I have every day. Well, it's difficult to start because then I probably have a 2-hour interview and tell you every little detail, from building water pipelines, where the people don't have the experience. I have to leave for 2 days. I come back, the pipes going upwards, digging lakes where you find out that the lakes are wrongly built, seeds you put in the ground and your carrots are not growing, chicken who doesn't lay eggs, building a school. Actually, you start to learn the local school have 780 children and 5 teachers, and you start to realize they don't learn anything. And then you're building on all each side, agriculture. Then you try to build a little hotel. So what you have no money. So you build a backpackers hotel, and you start to realize already you only lose money because $25 a night and $2.50 for a breakfast, you can't make money. So then you have to start what I do. And, yes, it could be a good business. Tourism could be a good business, but at the end, I need infrastructure. But an infrastructure costs you a couple of $100,000. So you start to try to find money. In my case, I was very lucky. I had a very good paid job as a freelance photographer, so I decided that my asset, my family asset, is actually the startup for what I do here as a project. And for me, it was from the beginning, it was not, I'm not an economist. It had an artistic kind of a feeling, it's like how I build my pictures. When I do a picture, I'm not just going there and click, so I try to understand, what is my picture? What is the story in my picture? When I started to paint, I had to realize you just can't smear your paint over your canvas. You have to build it up, you have to create it, and that's a challenge, but this is also the beauty of it. But then suddenly you do something who's beyond your capability, and for me, it was a very, very intense time. It still is a very intense time. And you have to think different. If I would have taken away like what economists do, this would never happen because nobody would ever go in that. The reason why I started a Hilfswerk or an NGO was because I thought I get money. Well, you have UN, you have UNICEF, you have government, German government, Swiss government, you have institutions. And then you start to realize that nobody gives you money. Because there are like 5,000 NGOs out there and everybody is fishing for money and they're there already a longer time. They can prove they have done something, even if it's valuable or not. So then you're depending on yourself. And I have a family. I mean, I start to dry out our assets. 100,000s by 100,000s by 100,000. Thanks God I had a wife where she would allow me to do that because she owns 50% of our family asset. And always when I failed, and there was only failure at the beginning. There was one failure after the other. The failure I had to kind of fix with money because I needed to add something. I needed something more on top and more on top and more on top. So you are in a rat race. It's not funny, not at all. And you have these little happinesses, right? But these happinesses, they drown in your problems you have. They drown in what you do. It starts slowly with sleepless nights. So the sleepless night, when you get up, 2 o'clock, you can't sleep anymore. Your brain is awake. And you start to turn. You know you need so much money by the end of the month. You don't have it. What do? So you start to call, you start to run. And then also you say to yourself, yeah, it's going to work, it's going to work. I find it, I'm going to find it, I'm going to find it. Because if you're really very honest to yourself, you know you probably don't find it. And then, you know, it went very quickly. 250 students, you know. We had many, many people living from us. And then you can't send your students home. And you can't send your farmers home where you have and the people, because everybody you send home, there is 8, 10 people connected, they have nothing anymore. So it's not only the problem you have to solve for economical-wise, production of fish, production of this, building a hotel, also, you suddenly inherit all the social problems of the people you have taken in. They have huge problems, family problems, money problem, health problem. You know, somebody dies, then somebody has a wedding, they are unforced, they have to take money from the banks, they don't have the money to pay back. And suddenly all these problems are yours because we had 11 families living in our compound. And this family, we were in charge. And they never wanted to be in charge for their own social problem, but suddenly their social problem were our social problem. Thanks God I had a person like Lee from the beginning, a young, incredible, clever Cambodian who he just kept on working, and he was the balance to me. I'm an emotional person. I'm a person who wants to have things fast. And Lee, Cambodian, very gentle with the people. You know, sometimes I didn't understand. I was like, why does it take so long? Why can't they understand? I would tell them already 20 times and they still don't understand. But I had to realize when people never been to school, when never people been introduced to education, and people have already a certain age, it does not work like this anymore. They need many, many time, repetition. And then you have to find models because you know they're very skilled with their hands. So you have to kind of change around your education system towards them so they go through their hands. It goes to building something with the hands, and then suddenly they get an understanding where we can just read a part of a book or a text and then we know what it's all about. Leap was very, very important. This is still very important for this project. He was that reflection, but I also realized that actually Lee really doesn't have experience either. He comes from a university, he's grown up here, so he had a better education, but he had no experience at all. He didn't know what this is. So sometimes I was talking from a world where he didn't understand, so I had to become very gentle to make links to certain things, to give him the way, to the time to understand. As I said, it was beyond the challenges, the learning process where I had to make, the mistakes I made. Thanks God, I paid for, with my money, for my mistakes, right? And I think the breakthrough came where I was so on my end. I talked to Lieb. I said, Lieb, I think we can't continue because everything fails. You know, our chickens don't even have eggs, and our pigs look like, I don't know, they die. We spend so much money, and after 50 kilos they die. They should become 100 kilos so we can sell. And my farmers, they were not able actually, well, they could grow morning glory, but all the rest didn't work, right? And they did not even feed the chicken the right way. Either it was too much feed or less feed. And I remember I went back in Zurich, and I started writing emails to the agriculture departments. I said, I need help. Everything goes wrong. Nothing grows. My chicken die, you know. They have every year when the rain comes, they die. It can't be, because the rain, they die. Because I knew from my instinct they have a bacterial infection like a flu. Right? My pigs was a disaster. I think at 16 institutes I was writing help mail. Sorry, I'm an artist, I need help. And Martin Pfister, he got back to me, and then a couple of days later I was sitting at the LBBZ in Cham, and he looked at my pictures, he heard my story, he was shaking his head. He said, Mr. Schmid, I Googled you, you are a brilliant artist, but I think becoming an agriculture engineer, I would advise you, maybe you should go back to school, right? I said, Martin, I can't go back to school, and I don't have time, and this thing is growing, it's going, and we always under time pressure, and can you help? He said, well, I cannot help you here, but I send you to agriculture engineers. And then they came, and then things started to move. So I think I was so lucky always to find people who believed in what I do. And through that kind of, maybe that's my talent, you know, to talk to people. And I, in my visual way, I try to explain them, and I'm humbled. And more people came, you know. Gerhard Jansen, by an accident, I got a talk at the Swiss Economy Forum. I was the Querdenker, you know, that means I think different than others. And he was so fascinating about my talk. And my talk was actually, it was a baby talk because I didn't really a lot of experience. And after the talk, he came to me and said, Mr. Schmid, I have a foundation. I support you. And one by other came. All these kind of elements came together, and it was about trust. It was also actually, I realized that I don't need to build my own school. Like everybody builds their own school, and what's missing is teachers. But this was the process of when I started to be out here, 780 students, 5 teachers. Of course, we all have the feeling we have to do our own thing. But maybe I would have been much more successful if I would have started a school for teachers, because every teacher would multiply what he learns, right? But then, of course, I was in this tunnel. Very often you feel yourself you're in a tunnel. And then I read this article from Der Cable about this fascination of alternative construction material, bamboo and biomass. And well, I wrote an email, and then he called me back, and then had a coffee. And then it was actually on the first meeting at the ETH in Zurich, it was already clear that they will help me to build a school. I had no money. Right? I mean, the project was huge, and I knew this cost several $1 million. I said to them, well, can you help me from the ETH? They said, we don't have money either, you know. And through Alan, that time, you know, Alan was actually my broker at Julius Baer, because I had a little bit of money. And because I was a close friend of Boris Golardi, the CEO of Remobert, okay, they say, come, we give you a special deal in our private bank, right? And the little money you have, we put in good places. And he was treated the clients he had. And then he knew a woman, a lawyer in Zurich, and she was on the board of a foundation, Thai Swiss, and they just had quite a lot of money. And then I had met her in her office, and I told her about the story, and she was very excited. I showed her picture, and then they came here. I had nothing, right? And they said, okay, Hannes, we help you to build the school. So we got a huge amount of money, and also we got the guarantee that for the next 3-4 years we will get every year a huge amount of money. So that's how I was able to build this school. And when you look back, or when I look back, I said, it's like a fairy tale, you know. I come with an idea that people don't even know me. I convince them to come. I show them how people live and what the need is, and at the end, they stand beside us and support us. And that's, with all these people, we would not exist. It's not me. It's me who have that flag. It's me who run. Yeah, it's me who have the idea, the vision, but also I'm the problem because there's a lot on me. And I'm always the guy who I can't stop. I have to go on. There's one project, there's the next project, the next project. I don't know what else, I take over the country. I have no idea. But that's my personality, I don't even know where I take my energy from. I actually have nothing left in my body. I'm getting less and less. And still it has to go forward. It has to be pushed. It has to go on, right? And that's my job, in a few words. Yes, I spent 6 months, 7 months. Before it was in shorter terms. But I don't have a private life. Private life does not exist because with time changes with Europe, it goes into midnight. You sleep, you get up 5, you get up at 6. It's my life. And it does not even need to be a private life because what I do is my life. So you cannot escape. Yeah, maybe you can cut out half an hour, but I mean, when I'm here 3 weeks, I not even make it to the pool. If I'm here, I not even make it to the spa. That is always something. It's always going somewhere. It's now not so much anymore. Before I was all over the country because I had to meet this one and that one and in the city and go here and go Battambang and go here and there. So you were going, and then before I was the only one who were filming and photographing. So when the light got up, I was out. When the light go down, I was there. And then you had a dinner usually. And then we have guests. You know, I have quite a big duty to tell our guests the story because it's very simple. I want money. So if I can tell them the story, what is the challenge here? What is the life of these people? What do we do? What we want to achieve? I have to sit with them and I have to talk, right? I try to get out of that pretty much, but very, very difficult. I also have to analyze, are these people who are really interested, or are they just like passing by, and what are they interested in, right? And communication is everything, and it's this personality, this Hannes who is here with his personality, then I take leap to me. I have Maria beside me. These are the two people who are representing actually really cross the line what Smiling Gecko is all about. But do I have a private life in Switzerland? No, I don't think so. I have to break every hour I spend with my kids, going with Max biking. I have to break out of my lip. I don't have a private life, but do I need to have a private life? Or is my life my life? Is work my life? Is not work? Is my life? So, yeah, that's difficult. I can't make and say, okay, I go privately somewhere, because if I go somewhere, I'm still every 2 hours on the phone. My brain is still going crazy, because to solve this, you know, to solve this, I've been lately, I said, I need to go, I need 3 days, 4 days, so I go to the island. I mean, it was horror. I was on the beach walking with my telephone, because Switzerland was calling, they were calling, interview, radio interview, journalist interview, you know, and Maria was with me. She said, why do you actually go somewhere, you know? You're on the phone at lunch, at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner. You're always on the phone. I said, yeah, I know, but I have to answer. I cannot say I'm not here for 3 days, 4 days, because there's things is going on, right? It's also maybe my personal responsibility I have. Maybe, yeah, I can say, okay, you know what? Maybe it's going to happen now because I have to go to the hospital. So maybe I say, as in the next 5 days, I'm sorry, guys, you don't hear from me. But then something goes up here, you know, it's, can I do that? And I know there's this going on and that is going on. And then, you know, and then, yes, you have that position where you think you should know everything. And of course, you know everything better, right? And that's wrong too. Well, I think a good leader is a person who doesn't tell people what to do. Is tell people to encourage to do what they do. Sometimes I'm not a good leader. When I came here 10 years ago, you could really say there was nothing. There was a couple of houses. There was this dirty school, a couple of kilometers away. People were really, I had the feeling they were very poor. They're still poor. But what have changed is this whole community around us started to get a different understanding. You know, we were providing salaries for work, we were providing health insurance, we were providing accidents insurance. After a little while, we put in a pension fund. And we suddenly saw how little houses go up here, little houses go up there. That was before the pandemic. Little land had a sign on sold. And then when we were like looking around, there were all people working with us. And then we started to open up our clinics. So while they were queuing up at the beginning, they were queuing around the block. And we started to recognize that with the way we try to support them with food, especially the children, that we had the feeling that these children, their skin got better, they looked better. Even the elderly people who had a lot of pain, their teeth were halfway gone, everything. So we were providing not really medical, just like what we had, like a little pain tablet or fevers and stuff like this. And we also saw suddenly there were motors. Before there were no motors. Right? We rapidly saw that is koyos, you know, the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, right? And but we realized that there are suddenly parties. Ghetto blasters. 200 people. And they were getting together and they were drinking a beer and they share food. And I started to realize, I mean, when I came here, there was nothing happened like this. It was nothing here, right? And then they came to us and we helped them, you know, also with structure. We said, okay, when you have this and this product, let's see if we cannot put this together, and then maybe we can together put this, the harvesters together and try to sell it and have a better deal, right? And the school, when we started with our school, this was actually the biggest change in the society here, because suddenly their children had regular meals. Their children had regular medical checkups. I think at the beginning they didn't send the children to our school because education, just because we took a burden away from these people that they had to feed their children. And suddenly they came with everybody who was sick, and the child could be sick as crazy, they were bringing her to school. She wouldn't stay at home, they bring her to school, and we had to deal with it, right? And then we had more and more people working for us, and yeah, suddenly there was one girl, 18, married, the other girl were married, they married. Marry means here you have to have a house, you have to build a house. So suddenly they were able to be a simple house. They were able to build a house, brick by brick. You know, first they built like the pillars on the roof. And the next 2-3 salary had, and suddenly they had a wall, right? So it was fantastic. It was like if you build a city with Lego, you know, like you start to place different things and, you know. And the local government, who at the beginning were difficult, suddenly they became very nice. I remember one incident, the school was, the buildings, cluster A was done, but it was road, there was nothing in there. And then we needed from the local authority, we needed the permit to open a school. So we had also defined, are we a local school, are we a private school, what are we? So we were between, and they came with Lieb and me, and we working in this construction site. And they said to Lieb at the end in Khmer, said, they cannot give us a permit. And he said, why? I said, Lieb asked, why? It doesn't look like a school. I said, what do they mean? They said, the buildings, they look like a factory. I said, but is it school? And then I said to Lieb, can you ask them if they, I knew that the containers were on the way. I said, can you ask them if they come back in 1 month? I said, yeah, come back. The containers came, we put the school furniture in, we put the blackboard on the wall, you know, I had the Smiling Gecko children, they put some paintings, you know, we put it on the wall. And then was this next appointment with the local government. They came, they went in there, they turned around twice and said, we give you the permit, now it's a school. So the change is enormous in how they live. Social problems, we were helping them with social problems. How do you debate? How do you solve a problem between wife and husband? Right? There's tons of it, right? I mean, this is a different country now here. This is a different world. It has nothing to do anymore with what we found when we came. What was a very bad breaking point was 22nd of February 2020. I could never imagine that something like this, who had already existed now for so many years, it becomes more stable, money was in, they had jobs, you know, they were growing, some people worked with us, we trained them, they would go somewhere else, so this was slowly starting a little entrepreneurship. Boom, everything stopped.